Time is absolutely flying right now. Fantasy football drafts are right around the corner. That's why in today's episode, I'm giving you my top 30 running backs so you can have a couple studs on your roster. And we're busting out the rankings tiers here in today's show, but I want to start off in tier 1. I feel like a lot of people out there, I don't care how many YouTube videos you watch, you pretty much know who's going to be in tier 1, right? These guys are the best of the best. I shouldn't have to sell you on any of these guys, so you know what? Let's just reveal tier 1 here right off the bat. It's Christian McCaffrey, Breece Hall, and Bijan Robinson here for me as of right now. Now, when it comes to Christian McCaffrey, he's been in San Francisco for 27 regular season games. The dude has scored over 15 fantasy points in 20 of those games. He's definitely still at the top for me. Breece Hall, last year finished as the running back 4 overall on the season, really thanks in part to some bad quarterback play, which led to a butt ton of checkdowns. Dude had 95 targets last year. Probably not going to happen here this year. So why do I still have him so high? The touchdown opportunities will be plentiful in 2024. They could not score in New York last year. They lost Aaron Rodgers. They couldn't move the ball down the field with no matter who played quarterback last year for the Jets. That's going to change, which is going to open up more touchdown potential and a higher overall ceiling for Breece Hall. But then we got Bijan Robinson. Last year finished as the running back 9 overall, and his head coach hated him for part of the season. Now we have a new head coach in Raheem Morris, and he's already come out and said, listen, we can expect a whole lot of Bijan Robinson in 2024. That's got my tail wagging, and that's why he's in tier 1. Now, if tier 1 has got the juices flowing a little bit, if you're starting to feel a little bit good, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button now. And I'll tell you exactly why now is the best time to do so. Because if you hit the subscribe button, I promise to be here every damn week dropping straight bangers for your fantasy football team. But all right, let's move on to tier 2 now. And I'm not going to reveal all the guys. Let's go through it one at a time. First one up, it's Jonathan Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts. He's now fully healthy. The potential RPO with Anthony Richardson could be absolutely insane in 2024. He's running behind one of the best offensive lines, and he has a workhorse role in this offense. Jonathan Taylor, maybe not going to be what he was a couple years ago, but definitely looking for the bounce back. How about Saquon Barkley, now a member of the Philadelphia Eagles? And some people have him ranked lower this year than some of the years he was in New York, which is disgusting. The offense in New York for years has been horrendous. Now he goes to Philadelphia, one of the best overall offenses in the game. He's going to see empty boxes, probably more so than he has in his entire career. And don't even get me started on the fact that he's going to be running behind one of the best offensive lines he's had in quite some time. Sure, a lot of people want to bring up that he could lose some touchdowns to the brotherly shove. Or does Jalen Hurts lose some of those touchdowns to the brotherly shove, which is handed to Saquon Barkley? Not saying, just saying, it's a possibility. How about next? It's Derrick Henry. No, he's no longer in Tennessee. He's in Baltimore, and each and every year, people will go on every piece of social media and say the king is old, he's washed, he's been used too much, he's got no tread left on the tires, and every single year the king goes out and proves those people wrong. Now in Baltimore, a run-first offense, this is best case scenario for Derrick Henry. Sure, Lamar is going to run at times, but they don't want to beat him up running too much between the tackles. And on the goal line, King Henry, he's got 15 plus touchdown potential in 2024. But then we have Travis Etienne of the Jacksonville Jaguars, back-to-back years with 1,400 plus total yards. Once again, going to be a great overall offense in Jacksonville. Yes, they lost Calvin Ridley. They added Brian Thomas Jr. They added Gabe Davis. And you know what they didn't add? Another running back to take away touches from Travis Etienne. How about all that Tank Bigsby hype last year? Nothing happened, right? It's going to be Travis Etienne once again. He's in tier 2, along with Jahmyr Gibbs of the Detroit Lions. He didn't even see an increased role in this offense until week 7 last year. He finished the season as the running back 10 overall. From week 7 on, he was the running back 3 overall in fantasy football. Now he gets to start the season with that role. Jahmyr Gibbs could be in line for a huge season. But now we've made it through 2 tiers, and I can see it in your eyes. You're out there, you're frothing, right? You are just ready to draft some fantasy football teams, but we want to make sure you have the greatest team possible. So don't forget, tfhdraftguide.com. Get yourself a draft guide right now so you can absolutely kill it in 2024. But all right, now we're moving on to tier 3. And the first running back here is Kyren Williams. And I can hear a lot of you out there all of a sudden, Jake, why the hell is Kyren Williams in tier 3? Listen, I do not dislike Kyren Williams at all. When I look at the overall running backs, though, this is kind of where I think we take a small step forward when it comes to risk. It still is a very small sample size for Kyren Williams. We know they drafted Blake Corum, which is basically a Kyren Williams clone in the backfield. We also know that Kyren Williams was already banged up during OTAs. This overall offense in LA has firepower all over the place with Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Demarcus Robinson. They have a ton of options out there, and even though I still love Kyren Williams, I don't know if I can put him any higher than this spot just yet. How about Josh Jacobs as well? He's coming off a disappointing season, but now he gets an overall upgrade on offense being in Green Bay. Way more touchdown opportunities in Green Bay than he's had in Las Vegas. Jordan Love is a capable quarterback that can push the ball down the field to those young receivers. Should definitely open up the box for Josh Jacobs, who we also know has that pass-catching ability himself. Going to take over that Aaron Jones role in Green Bay. How about Rachaad White? Inefficient AF on the ground, right? Seriously, the guy averaged 3.6 yards per carry. That is like bad. But if he's going to be staying right around 60 receptions and double-digit touchdowns, this is the tier for him. I hear people say all the time, I don't care how inefficient Rachaad White is, he's scoring fantasy points. And you know what? If the volume stays there, we'll be saying the same thing once again in 2024. What about Isaiah Pacheco? More offensive weapons this year in Kansas City than maybe they've had the last couple of years. But his hard running style, like he's pissed off at the ground, really leads to some nagging injuries. He racks up more big hits than really he probably should. However, if he stays healthy, he's a top 12 running back. If he misses a couple games, he'll still be top 20. But then we have James Cook of the Buffalo Bills coming off a huge year. Dude had 1,567 total yards, but barely finished top 12 at the position. Why? Touchdowns, right? He just doesn't see enough touchdowns. A lot of times they're being stolen on the goal line by Josh Allen. We really can't see that higher ceiling either until they involve him more in the pass catching game. His current career high in receptions is only 44. If we could get that near 60, watch out. Then we have Joe Mixon of now the Houston Texans. And so many people dislike Joe Mixon, but he's had at least 1,250 total yards in 5 of the last 6 seasons, plus 37 touchdowns over the last 3 years alone. Things really aren't going to change for him this year in Houston. They're a high-powered offense. He's going to see volume. He's going to have touchdown opportunity. He can play all 3 downs. Joe Mixon is going to have a very similar season this year to what we've seen in years past. How about Alvin Kamara? He's going to be a steal, in my opinion, here in 2024. 7 straight seasons of at least 1,100 total yards. Limited weapons in New Orleans. They're not absolutely loaded out there by any means. Plus, we know that Derek Carr loves himself the check down. When you look at Alvin Kamara last year, he was the 5th highest scoring running back in fantasy points per game, and people are forgetting about him here this season for whatever reason. And then lastly, Devon Achane of the Miami Dolphins. A lot of people out there wanting to know why the hell is he not way higher up the list? Well, if you've watched any of my shows this offseason, I've really gone into detail as to why. I know a lot of people love this guy. I know this guy took a lot of people to the fantasy playoffs last year. He won people matchups. But can he stay healthy? And if he is healthy, what about the potential 3-way split in this backfield with Raheem Mostert and newly drafted rookie Jalen Wright? As of right now, Raheem Mostert is still cheaper on draft day. If I want to take a chance on this backfield, give me the cheaper option. Don't get me wrong, Devon Achane, huge upside. Also, huge risk. Which means we've made it through 3 tiers now. heading to tier 4. If you're still with me out there, throw the number 4 down below in the comment section. I'm going to randomly pick somebody who's paying attention, putting the number 4 down below, and I'm going to pick a random commenter and give them a free fantasy football draft guide. All right. Here we go. Tier 4, Raheem Mostert. We just talked about him when we were talking about Devon Achane. Sure, Raheem Mostert is going to regress slightly. He's not going to go out and score 20-plus touchdowns again, but he's still going to be the starting running back for the Miami Dolphins. He's going to get a first crack in this offense. The touchdowns, there's still going to be a great opportunity for them. Okay, maybe he doesn't score 20. If he scores 12, he's still a deal on draft day. How about Tony Pollard? People got burned by poor analysis in 2023, and now they're blaming Tony Pollard for it. Sure, he's going to have a split backfield with Tyjae Spears. That's okay. Less volume for Tony Pollard equals more efficiency for Tony Pollard. It was plain as day to us last year. We told everyone and their mother, even some of their grandmothers, to avoid Tony Pollard in the role he had in Dallas last season. It didn't stop so many people for ranking him up in there as a late first round, early second round pick, and that absolutely backfired. I think he's being undervalued this year. People are so jaded because of last season. He's dropped too far down the board. I don't dislike Tony Pollard at all this year for where he's being drafted. What about Kenneth Walker here next? He's a yearly top 20 running back, right? A lot of people want to come out and overhype Kenneth Walker each and every year. And you can see why. He'll go out and from week to week, he'll put up some big games. But he's kind of up and down. Like, he's not overly consistent, and you can pretty much pencil him in for missing a couple games a year. Given the fact we have a new coaching staff, we need Geno Smith to take a step forward. Is Zach Charbonnet utilized at all anymore this season? Just some question marks. That's why Kenneth Walker is right here. How about Aaron Jones? Can he stay healthy? And then more importantly, can the quarterbacks in Minnesota, whether it be Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy, can they move the ball through the air successfully? They need to do that in order to keep running lanes open. Otherwise, they're just going to stack the box, take away the running game, put excess pressure on the quarterback, and we're going to have a miserable season from Aaron Jones. He's another one of those high-risk, high-reward players. What about James Conner? One of the most underrated fantasy running backs almost yearly. He just never plays a full season. He's always getting banged up, and now Arizona went out and drafted Trey Benson, who could definitely take on a larger role if Conner goes down for any length of time. Now, if Conner can play 16, 17 games, he may be a league winner this year. Ramondre Stevenson. New England they're going to be in search for some sort of an identity to start this season. We know Ramondre Stevenson's season is part of their plans for sure, but this offense is absolutely full of mid options, right? No one really stands out in this offense as being the alpha at really any position. We also know that Ramondre Stevenson's going to be splitting the backfield work with Antonio Gibson, another guy who's finished as a top 12 running back in fantasy football before. A lot of questions in New England. Not a talent issue when it comes to Ramondre, more of a unknown of what's going to happen in New England. Otherwise, he would be a lot higher here on the rankings. What about Najee Harris? Really, the biggest question here is Arthur Smith. Like, is he going to curse the backfield in Pittsburgh like he did last year in Atlanta? I really hope not, but hope is a strong word. At least we've seen him be a better offensive coordinator than head coach in the past. We know Najee's in a contract year. We know Pittsburgh spent a lot of time this offseason upgrading the offensive line. Why do you do that? To run the football. Pittsburgh is kind of known for playing good defense and running the ball on the ground effectively. We know Najee is 3-down capable. Taking nothing away from Jaylen Warren, still the bulk of the volume should be going Najee Harris's way. And then David Montgomery. He's not going to have the ceiling of a Jahmyr Gibbs, but he is going to get consistent volume and touchdown chances on one of the best offenses in football, running behind the best offensive line in football. It really makes him pretty safe and reliable, even though his ceiling may not be as high. But that'll take us to tier 5 now. And by this time, a lot of you guys are like, yeah, I don't really know if I care about tier 5. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to throw all the guys up here in tier 5. We've got Austin Eckler, Jaylen Warren, Zamir White, Ezekiel Elliott, DeAndre Swift, Javonte Williams, and then I added 2 extra guys in Devin Singletary and Brian Robinson. Sorry, I put 32 guys, not 30. It is what it is in this show. But for Austin Ekeler, just a lot of unknown, right? We really don't know what to expect with this split with Brian Robinson. The overall offense in Washington should be better, but what does that mean for Austin Ekeler? I still think he's a discount as of right now. Jaylen Warren, spoke about him briefly when talking about Najee Harris. Jaylen Warren is going to have a role, but he is highly reliant on high efficiency because he doesn't see enough consistent volume. Does he get that this year? Probably hit or miss. The guy's probably going to be hovering right around 12 touches a game, may not be high enough to be a high-end running back. Zamir White, really small sample size, right? And we've seen Josh Jacobs struggle to find the end zone in Las Vegas because they couldn't move the ball down the field. Now there's rumors coming out that there could be a Brandon Ayuk for Devontae Adams. Listen, we need touchdowns when it comes to running backs, and I have a hard time counting on touchdowns in Las Vegas. Which will then take us to Ezekiel Elliott, somebody else who I think is highly underrated this year. Yeah, but speaking of touchdowns, right? He could find himself in a position of scoring 10+ touchdowns this year. No, he's not going to be a guy that runs for 1,500 yards anymore, but could he run for 1,000 yards and find the end zone 10 times in this Dallas offense? I think he definitely could. DeAndre Swift, would love to have him higher, but we still have other guys in this backfield that he's sharing with. What about Javonte Williams, another guy who's seen his inefficiencies just take over there in Denver just last season? Can he take a step forward? Can this offense put points on the board? A lot of questions surrounding Javonte Williams. Devin Singletary, now part of the New York Giants. Saquon Barkley struggled in this backfield. I'm not quick to say that Devin Singletary is going to go out there and kill it. Does that mean he's going to suck? No, probably not. As a bench stash running back, I don't hate it. And then Brian Robinson, I really believe if they really wanted to give a full workload to Brian Robinson, then they wouldn't have even entertained the fact of bringing in Austin Ekeler. It's a team that needed so much. Why bring in Ekeler if you were totally dead set on Brian Robinson? That's why he's dropped down here in the same tier, in tier 5 with Austin Ekeler, until we really see what this offense is going to look like. But there you have it, the best damn running backs in the land in a short, digestible version of a show. Now, if you love shows like this, do me a favor, hit the like button if you haven't already, and then consider subscribing if you haven't done that either. This is one of the fastest growing fantasy football communities for a reason. It's because around here, we win. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here for the day, but hopefully you have a great rest of your day, but most importantly, do your part to make the world a better place.